Chapman, is that a player you expect could be on the move?
No, I expect the Red Sox to get back in this thing. And I know they haven't played well. Another tough loss last night, but they've invested a lot in this season. This was to be the season they turned it around. And barring continued poor play, which is possible, I do not expect him to be on the move.
But when you look at how they're operated and who's operating, Craig Breslow in theory with Sam Kennedy and et cetera, he'd be the exact player who you would move.
Oh,
And
no
and
question.
because you can get assets for him, he's not going to be on the roster next year, and he's having one of those seasons again out of nowhere at an advanced age.
That's true, David. But their window, if you want to call it that, is supposedly reopening. That was the promise of this season. Hey, we're going to start to mix in our young kids. We signed Alex Bregman. We traded for Garrett Crochet. They're not going to give up on this season easily, nor should they. Let's face it, Bregman might only be there this 1 year. And I know he's not there right now. He's injured, but the whole psychology of the club is go for it this year. Now, they're going to be realistic, of course. If they're out of it, and it's difficult to be out of it with the expanded postseason, then they'll make some other decisions. But again, I don't expect them to be in that position. I expect them to somehow right the ship here and play better.
I think that's what separates good front offices from bad ones, though, is recognizing that even in an expanded wild card, if you're dialing for a dream, you have to maximize assets, even if you're the Red Sox, who have shown to be conscious about what their payroll is and butting up against luxury tax threshold. If you can turn Chapman into a bit more and filling your pipeline again, I don't know. I think you have to do that for a bullpen arm. It's like your dream. When we would sign a bullpen arm to a 1 year deal like this, it's your dream that you can move him for something that it actually works out, assuming your dream of winning that year doesn't happen.
David, that's in a vacuum. I agree with you. But without being disrespectful here, it's one thing when you're the Miami Marlins and you're not facing fan and media pressure to the extent you are in Boston. They're under fan and media pressure. And I just don't know that they can give up on this season easily based on their disappointments the past several years, based on their investment in this club. Every circumstance is different. Every season is different for every team. And that's why it seems to me it's going to be tough to wrest Aroldis Chapman away from them.
So where are you going to add if you're the Red Sox? Because they brought up
First
Anthony,
base,
they played him in right field. What are you going to add?
first base for sure. And I would also look to add to the rotation, which has been a huge disappointment. Giolito has not pitched well. Bueller has not pitched well. Bio was good last night, but they need help in the rotation and always a bullpen arm too.
So do you think that they would take a chance? Do you think anyone will take a chance on Sandy? The Marlins back from Tommy John, Alcantara, Cy Young Award winner, pitching. Is he qualified yet, Coca, for the earn? Remember, there was a time when he would have had the worst ERA by like 3 runs, but he was 1 inning away from qualifying. Is that the type of arm? What do you do if you're the Marlins? Because I want to tell you what the front office is thinking. I want to hear your view.
It's June 10th. It's not July 31st. And I still expect Sandy to come around. That last start, he had a little bit of a different mix, more success. He pitches again tonight. I'm actually eager to see what he does tonight because he still is the belle of the ball as long as he is on an upward trend. He's not been on an upward trend this year. It's understandable to some degree. He's coming off surgery, but it's not too late for him to restore some value. Remember, we've seen circumstances over the last few years. I can't remember one, but circumstances where a guy has a few good starts and boom, he gets traded. So I can see that happening again.
How can you not be on an upward trend when your ERA is 8.5? Isn't it
Fair
almost
point. Well, you can
definitional?
stay on the same trend. You can have an ERA of eight and a
It's
half
so
in a month.
impossible. And for him to be as bad as he was would seem improbable, though it is tough first year back from Tommy John. Strange that people just expect, like last night, a Marlins pitcher again. Your
Yes.
Perez comes back, and it's hard. You pitch 3 innings, and you're not going to be as effective. But if you're the Marlins, you've got to get this right because they're running out of assets. As a matter of fact, maybe they've run out of assets in order to try to hit it big. And if you're an acquiring team, I don't think you're going to give up for Sandy what you would have when you say he's the belle of the ball. I think there's a little tarnish on him now.
Oh, there's no question there is right now. And again, if this deadline was tomorrow, we're talking about a situation where they probably can't trade him just yet. They probably want to wait till the offseason and hope that things get better. But that in a shrinking window here is what they want to happen before July 31st. And if you can't make the absolute A1 trade for him, maybe you settle for less. And that is just the way it's going to be. But again, like so much with the deadline, this is all going to evolve. We're going to have sellers in 6 weeks that we don't have now. We're going to have teams willing to buy and sell that we are not necessarily aware of now. So I know people like to get talking about the deadline early, and we're talking just in a general sense, David, but people start throwing names around this time of year. It's still too early, in my opinion. And I've done this a long time now. I've done it long enough to know that things will change and they will change quickly and they will change right up until July 31st.
I'm sorry, but I thought on your site, which of course I'm a subscriber, as everyone should be to The Athletic, I'm almost positive that in April there were already articles about who to watch for at the deadline.
Not by me,
So
by others.
I didn't say by you. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's not that early. One of the teams, I guess, were you talking about the
So it is
Cardinals?
that early for reality. For fantasy, it's always a good time.
Were you thinking about the Cardinals when you were thinking about a team that if the deadline were today, they could be buyers, and by July 31st, they may have regressed to what people thought they would be?
They're a really interesting team right now, and there are so many dynamics going on with them. It's like I was saying before, David, there are different circumstances for every team, and you know this. So John Mozeliak, their president of baseball operations, is in his last year. He won't admit this. Of course, he's not going to admit this publicly. I think he wants to win. Who wouldn't want to win? Who wouldn't want to go out in the best possible way? That's one thing. The other thing is the surprise that they have become this season. And it's really interesting that they're getting 90th percentile outcomes on a lot of what they wanted, which is great and good for them. They did nothing in the offseason. And in some ways, it's kind of a bad example. It's a team that did nothing and is still having success. Maybe other teams will think the same way. But in their case, they had a lot of players that they wanted to look at. And that's what they've done. And those players, for the most part, not all of them, have succeeded. So at the deadline, they're a buyer if they continue this trend, yes. But how extensive a buyer are they? I don't know that it's that extensive. It seems to me that what they'll do is piecemeal ads, guys that should help them, but not monster type trades because Chaim Bloom, their next president of baseball operations, is part of the front office right now. And I can't imagine he wants to invest too many assets in going for it this season when he's going to be trying to build something that is sustainable for several years.
So, a little scoop here is I was at a college graduation for my son, and Bill DeWitt was sitting right behind me because it was his granddaughter who was graduating as well. And we were talking, we hadn't seen each other in a bit. And he said to me, and I told him, well, that seems like something I could repeat on my show. And he smiled. He said, can't you be nicer to the Cardinals? I said, I'm so nice to them. I love St. Louis. And I felt like you. I felt like me talking to you for 18 years. Can't you be nicer to the Marlins? It made me actually feel like, wow, maybe we're doing something here. But he said, who knew? We're winning this year. And the look in his eye was that this is a total surprise season for him. And he's an octogenarian. It's not like he's interested in what's happening in 5 years. He was super excited at the possibility. So I think that you add those things up, and I think they're going to hang on and want to buy because to him, he was surrounded with family who were all so excited because they were thinking they were going to lose 90, and now they're thinking they could win 90. And for them, they're doing it.
And David, you know this too. The chance to win, the opportunity is rare. Just because you're good this year doesn't mean you'll be good next year. And when that opportunity arises, and I often have problems with teams where they don't grab the opportunity. When that opportunity arises, you had better go for it. You had better try because who knows what happens next year. Your best pitcher might get hurt. All kinds of things might happen. And Bill DeWitt has been in baseball long enough to recognize that, yes, that's the reality of the situation.
You talk about that and going for it. Obviously, during the offseason, there was talk of trading Nolan Arenado, and it didn't end up happening. But I think who you could be talking about is one of our favorite teams together, the Baltimore Orioles, who the first time I ever met you was way before I got into baseball in as it related to the Orioles and selling to Angelos, which seems like 100 years ago. Bill DeWitt was in that room, by the way. That's funny how the world works. Are the Orioles an example where you're disappointed, not just out of your love for them, but reality that they missed an opportunity and now it looks as though this window of getting overperformance by young players to their contract is over now?
Well, a couple things here. The time you're talking about when we were together in a courtroom was the auction to sell the Orioles in bankruptcy court. And for those who might not be aware of this, since it happened, I don't know, 32 years ago,
It's
it was
unreal.
your stepfather, Jeffrey Loria, on one side. And at the start of that day, Bill DeWitt, Larry Lucchino, and Peter Angelos were all aligned. And actually, they bought the team together. They won the bidding, and then DeWitt and Lucchino gradually broke off, and it became Angelos's team. So that was quite a day. But to ask or to answer your question, first of all, I have no particular love for the Baltimore Orioles or any other team. I
I didn't
did
mean to
work
say you were not neutral. Sorry.
No, I did work in Baltimore for many years, so I have a good working knowledge of that team. But they are a team that has been immensely disappointing, immensely. And they're unquestionably going to be a seller, in my opinion. I think that one we can declare now. They have played a little bit better in the last 10 days or so. And I know that they don't want to make a decision just yet. I get it. They want to see where their playoff odds are on July 25th. But it's going to be really difficult for them unless they start just tearing it up. And they might. They've got more players coming off the injured list soon, O'Neill and Westberg and Sanchez. But I see them as a seller. And they're going to be, if they are a seller, probably an extensive seller. They have a number of interesting players. Zach Eflin, Tomoyuki Sugano, Bautista, the relief pitcher, Felix Bautista. They have some others as well. So yeah, I think they're going to sell. I think they could be the team that actually controls the deadline to some extent, if any team can. And it's hugely disappointing because the next question is, okay, you've sold, you've collected maybe more prospects. What next? Because the clock is ticking on Gunnar and on Adley Rushman and your other young players. And at some point, you got to get better again before it all has to fade away.
And don't forget, you've got a new owner there. And
Yes.
so they may be a serious candidate to be buyers and sellers. I was thinking about what you do as a new owner is you don't want to indicate to your fans like, all right, this window closed, welcome to baseball. So you could be smart, and they've got the front office with maybe the chance to do that, that they could be a team that you should look for to do both. I was
That's
thinking
a
about
great
that for
point.
them.
That is a great point because I agree with you. New owner changes the dynamic. And also, they can't simply concede. They can't go back to where they were. Not that they are going back to where they were a few years back, but they need to keep pushing forward. So maybe they're the type of team that trades, I don't know, Zach Eflin for a young pitcher or a younger position player who is major league ready or in the majors already. Maybe it's someone they identify as undervalued at the time who they can build up. Who knows? But yes, they need to add as well as subtract.